And welcome back to the Engage A podcast here on this Monday evening, a little bit earlier recording than me and Robby are used to. But here we are reacting to what happened over this weekend. Mainly, Virginia Tech had a nice win over Syracuse, and
That's
there's
about
a
it.
there's a couple CUSA games, but it's MAC action this week.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we have Toledo and Buffalo tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna be electric.
So, Daquan Finn Tuesday night. Me and Robby will be watching it. So
Yeah, we'll be watching it.
All right, let's get in straight into business. The big upset over the weekend. Kansas pulling out that victory over Oklahoma. Robby, what did you take away from this game?
That Oklahoma is stuck in 2021 once again. This is stuck in 2022, actually. Let's put it that way. This win came to me as a shock. Because coming in, I was expecting not necessarily Kansas not to play well, because let's be honest here, when Jaden Daniels is playing with his team, they're phenomenal. Like, absolutely, like they hit on all cylinders. They're not like phenomenal to Kansas's caliber, to Kansas's expectations. This isn't a team that's going to make the playoff with Jaden Daniels.
Right.
However, I don't know if I saw as much shock with Kansas as I did with Oklahoma. A lot of mistakes that we were just like not seeing in the game against Texas. Dylan Gabriel just kind of looking not lost out there, but just not utilizing his weapons. This defense kind of underperforming, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
because this is supposed to be the highlight of this team.
The only defensive player I'm impressed with is Deshaun McCulloch, the transfer from Indiana. That's literally the only guy I'm impressed with. Everyone else, like, they didn't get great run fits against this Kansas team, and they still they let some plays through the air that I'm kind of concerned about. I think generally they covered the pass well, but I also think Jason Dean's really not that good of a quarterback anyways.
Right.
But they couldn't stop the run all day.
No.
I mean, Kansas really couldn't either, to be honest.
No, because Walker did run for almost 150. I think it's such a cool story, though, just to highlight if you guys really didn't follow this game live. Neil is from Lawrence. This is a kid that just put on for his hometown, and he balled. Right. But this isn't an abnormal thing for him. This kid's played well all year.
He's been good the last 2 years. He's been Jalen Daniels.
Kansas has been good the last 2 years. This is an exciting program, a program kind of on the rise. However, not to get off topic of kind of the win, but Kansas's head coach and OC might be on the move.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like a Whittingham or a Mike Gundy or a Ferentz. I think you can get if you look at the basketball program. I mean, it's two completely different sports, two completely different recruiting landscapes.
Yeah.
But I think Kansas does a phenomenal job of if you're a Power 5 team or anything, typically you get more players from recruits, and then transfer portals kind of to build depth, or you can add that superstar. Right. Kansas, they're not they've been better recruiting over the past couple of years, and it's because they've had a little bit more program success. But I feel like Leipold, if you can build something really special, and you can get the NIL resources at Kansas. So I think this is just a proper utilization of the transfer portal. I think that's what it really is here. Because if you look at a lot of those guys on defense, none of them really are from originally on that Kansas team, especially the defensive line up front. So
I think these smaller programs are kind of in these big conferences that have these really daunting schedules are actually a very attractive place to be for these recruits that were big in high school and then actually didn't pan out the big power at the big university that they were at. For example, if I'm not going to use Kansas, but Spencer Rattler, who was at, Oklahoma, 5-star, right, did not pan out, goes to South Carolina, which is considered a smaller program in the SEC, but plays all the best teams. So it's he knows that he couldn't walk into the SEC and say play for Alabama, LSU, whatever, because of everything that happened in Oklahoma. But if he knows he can play at South Carolina. So therefore, yes, he's going to
And it's
sacrifice
just
a little
like,
bit of production at the offensive line, but he's going to get to play against these teams and prove himself, which in my opinion has worked out well for him.
yeah,
But this is the same thing. Kansas plays these big schools, man, in the Big 12, and these recruits are like, hey, like I can't play at Georgia, Alabama, or Ohio State, but why not come to Kansas where I know I'm going to get to play against the best competition every single week? And who knows, maybe we actually, and then slowly as recruits start doing that and seeing the trend, that's when you start seeing these programs emerge.
yeah, I mean, look at TCU last year. Like
Exactly.
they like, I mean, yes, they had a lot of guys on the roster, but like they had guys like thrown into positions where it's just a proper utilization of talent. I think like look at DJU at Oregon State. I know he didn't win, but still, like he's had like
Right.
a relatively successful season.
At this point, we're kind of seeing that these guys aren't going there to win. It's like, okay, I know I'm not going to, because you're not going to make national title runs with these teams, but it's like, all right, let's
You
go
will once in a
perform.
yeah, you will
Yeah,
once in a while,
right,
but
with TCUs and
right.
just these dark horses. But the real goal in that term is you go to those big universities to not only make national title runs but develop and go to the NFL. At this point, once you realize, hey, I can't play at these schools, I'm going to go to a school like Kansas, I'm going to go to a school like Oregon State or South Carolina. I'm going to ball out. I may not win, but I'm going to ball out. I'm going to make the NFL.
Yeah,
and that's what these guys are doing, and I think it's great because that's the things that the transfer portal was meant to be when it came about in the NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like the impact just on a lot of these rosters. Like example, Andrell Anthony wasn't properly utilized at Michigan, goes to Oklahoma, and he was the best receiver on that team, and he's probably going to be a professional level player. Like
once he comes back from injury, which that's another thing is it's so impressive how fast these guys are coming back and how well these guys are playing after those injuries that used to just sideline guys for their entire career.
Yeah. So, which I mean, it's just the advancement of medicine and like
we're seeing it
in recovery and rehab. Yeah. But like, I mean, it's a great thing. And like, I mean, you've seen in basketball is a huge indicator of it because Zach LaVine's torn his ACL. A bunch of guys have torn their ACL. Like the only guy that hasn't been able to really come back is Lonzo Ball. But that's because he literally has no cartilage in his knee.
Exactly.
But like, I mean, that's just a bigger problem than a torn ACL. So
yeah, no, Kansas utilizes perfectly the transfer portal. And it's so cool to see the transfer portal benefit these smaller programs.
I think that's what the transfer portal is designed to do. Like it's designed, like, yes, I mean, yes, the big schools are going to use it. Like Michigan did a hell of a job with their offensive line and defensive players like Josiah Stewart.
Right. They actually used it in a counteract to the way Kansas is using it. They're saying, hey, you want to come win a natty and also play with the best talent and get developed. Now come to the big school where you ball out at your small school as a recruit, as a high school recruit.
Yeah. And that's exactly like, it's meant for it tries to make every person succeed. As like it tries to just provide them a new opportunity.
Right. And that's why I hate when people hate on the transfer portal. It's like, oh, this needs to go. This is toxic, blah, blah, blah. It's not. Like if you actually look at it in depth in both sides and look at both parties, no coach is complaining about it. The only one that is Dabo, and look what happened to him.
Yeah. And I mean, just wait until there's actual contracts in place and the college football is not associated with the NCAA, because whether people like to hear it or not, it's probably going to be the future soon, which is fine, because if you look at and this is just a little bit of a rant, and I can't believe we're doing this early into the show, but when you look at all these markets and these networks and how much ratings they're getting and how much money college football is providing for these universities and how much they net, like it's almost like these, I don't want to call them slaves, but like they need, like they're the ones that are producing the talent and product on the field. Like they are the ones deserving credit of this, and they should get paid for what they're worth. This
is why it's been since 1997 that Kansas has upset Oklahoma at home. Like it's just those statistics, right? These things have been happening. Like Kansas beats teams like Oklahoma, a big school, because of the transfer. It's the only difference between then and 1997.
I mean, yeah, like the transfer portal matters, but also, you know, your desire to play, desire to win, your coaching staff, your like roster utilization, schematics. Like a lot of people just think it's just, oh, if you transfer, your team's going to be good. Like, no, like look at Colorado. Like, yes, they're playing better than what they were last year, but they're not at the level that, you know, a lot of casuals thought
it can't be done in 1 year. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, Kansas, like they were literally this game 2 years ago at Lawrence was literally like, hey, come watch this game for free. So
Exactly.
and that game was almost an upset 2 years ago.
Right. But the transfer portal is one of those reasons why this game is now an actual exciting game. It's not just some slub off. The only conference that doesn't understand that yet is the Big Ten.
Yeah. Which I mean, the Big Ten will look interesting with new conference realignment. Speaking of a team that's going to be in the new Big Ten conference, I don't know. I did not anticipate this happening. I did not see a thrashing. I thought that maybe, and like I kind of turned off this game after it got to like 21-6. I'm like, there's just no way. Utah hasn't been able to move the football. Oregon's just like dominated on both sides. Bo Nix is honestly like, he's moved up a little bit in my tier rankings. Like
he's moved up so much.
The kid, he's not the most talented quarterback in the country, right? Like we can accept that, but the system he's playing in, and he does possess a lot of talent. That's not to discredit him. Like he's still probably a top 10 college quarterback. The way that he's utilized and the way the skilled players are utilized and getting the ball out quick and getting the support from his run game, having the best offensive line, like he is doing exactly what he needs to do and then some. Like I'm really like thrilled to see that Bo Nix is succeeding because I mean he was not really successful at Auburn, and I mean the beginning of his Oregon career was almost a disaster. So
this team, in terms of them being battle tested and just performing on the road and at home, in my opinion, they're the most complete team in NCAA. Like I want to say that Michigan can fall into that, and I think they will once they actually play teams, but we can't say that yet. Oregon, even though they lost to Washington, I think you play that game again.
Well, it's going to be on a neutral field if they both play in the Pac-12 championship.
Right, and I think
the way Washington has been playing recently, like
right,
we'll get into that.
Oregon is just this team. So a lot of the Pac-12 teams and just the Pac-12 in general has been a very offense-heavy, kind of defensive weak team or weak conference, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the
quarterbacks.
Big 12-ish. Like they kind of take it over.
And that's why a lot of people, when they see these teams go into like the Big Ten, they're like, "This is stupid. Like this is the complete opposite of the style of football the Big Ten plays. Like they won't compete, right?" Oregon is a team that literally could walk in next year and win the Big Ten because they are building something so special. Dan Lanning is doing an unbelievable job. This team is so complete. Watch this film, watch this game in general, because Utah, yes, this is a back-to-back, or are they going for the three-peat?
They're going for the three-peat,
which won't happen anymore. But Utah has gone back-to-back.
It still technically can happen.
Technically, I just don't see anyone beating this team en route to that. But this is a team that's defending back-to-back Pac-12 champs, has shut down the best player in college football his whole career at USC, and now steps into Oregon and doesn't even look like they deserve to be on the same field. Like this looked exactly like, just besides the scoring margin, how Oregon played Colorado.
Yeah, and I mean, like, dude, like Utah's been a really good team of getting teams into bad down and distance and, playing behind the chains. And Oregon, like the way they play, it just like stylistically and schematically, like that's how.
And their preparation, because mind you, Bo Nix's entire career on the road, he has sucked. He literally has not won a top 10 game on the road entire career.
Yeah, like
until this weekend. So
it was top 15, not top 10, but still, like
true.
A very quality football team, because Utah is a quality football team.
Yeah, and so shout out to Dan Lanning and all those guys over there. And like we were just alluding to, like Bo Nix is flying up everybody's radar. Not as a guy that's going to win a Heisman, not a guy that's going to win a Maxwell Award, but a guy who is looking like a pro.
Yeah,
he looks polished.
He's going to be a starter in the NFL someday. Like.
Absolutely.
He gives me a ton of Kirk Cousins vibes.
Yeah, but someone that's actually a little more athletic.
Yeah.
Like, this guy can run the football, remember?
Yeah. Sorry, Kirk Cousins, tearing your ACL, man.
Achilles.
Well, same thing. They're the same injury. It's same time recovery. Whatever. Same thing.
Kind of.
Yeah, just different
ligaments.
Yeah.
One's a ligament, one's a tendon.
Yeah. Whatever.
Who cares? That's why we're not bio
Yeah,
majors, right?
yeah. This is why we broadcast. We don't go into the specifics or the biology of the body. No, but like seriously, like Oregon, they might be like seriously if they didn't have like if they win that Washington game, like if they do a couple things different in that game, they probably would be. They'd be the #1 team in my eyes right now.
Oh, absolutely, because like we just said, they have
Of course,
the most battle tested.
there is a team that I not that this is on the agenda, but I'll briefly
Let's
talk
do it.
about it. I was very impressed with Georgia this weekend. Like
Oh yeah,
Carson Beck is actually a good quarterback, and people are gonna when he shoots up draft boards and has his stock rise, like people are gonna be surprised. But if you watch him, like he's not necessarily got the best deep ball ever. Like he's no freaking AR-15 or like he just doesn't have a cannon that he can just like sling out of his ass and like. But this kid reads the game very well, and it almost like looks like he's better without having to rely on Brock Bowers. Almost like it's
almost like he feels the need and the pressure to I have to get the ball into this guy's hands, right?
Yeah.
Where now letting him kind of free flow go through his reads, McConkey looked freaking ridiculous.
Lovett looked good out of the slot. Robert Thomas, Jack Saint, like all those guys on the outside are like
it's a dangerous point to be any other fan, especially you're an Alabama fan thinking maybe we take the SEC, maybe we catch Georgia sleeping this year. Because I think in some ways, with the way Carson Beck is actually proving himself and developing week by week, like without Bowers, this lets the other guys develop. This lets the other guys finally get the spotlight.
Right,
which,
and I mean,
if Bowers comes back, it's like
and Tejon Edwards actually, like he gets good blocks and like could actually like find holes and be like kind of creative in space. Like it's crazy. Not saying like they're only going to be better when Brock Bowers gets back, but I think.
And I don't want to overreact too much because like we have said too, like they've had their bad games. And like we've also said, they aren't actually battle tested. Like Florida's a good offense.
No, they're a good team. They got good athletes. They're just,
they're
not.
And it's the SEC. Like I won't discredit the SEC and
like
playing
Florida
in
could probably go beat Penn State tomorrow. Like if like seriously,
wow.
Penn State.
If they played the game that they played over the weekend.
Like Penn State hasn't really played that good all year though. Like congrats, you beat up on UMass and you beat an Iowa team that just let their offensive coordinator actually resigns. So
no, I'm not saying that that's a far-fetched thing. It's just
like the quality of athlete.
Crazy to say that.
The quality, like Eugene Wilson and Ricky Pearsall, Graham Mertz, Montrell Johnson.
Those kids are studs.
Yeah, ETN. Like they got some dudes on defense. I just don't think it's still a rebuilding process. Like the position that Mullen left them in, like kind of wasn't like a good spot. Like
right, and the fact that they're already here, like yes, they did not compete with Georgia for all 4 quarters, but the way they look, I don't know who does.
Yeah, I mean, they were in it, and I just think they just made a couple crucial mistakes that like really cost them in that game. But I was very surprised to see that.
I'm still beyond impressed with Graham Mertz. I'm happy for that.
He played good, man. He is someone that finds the right reads. It's just Georgia, like when it got to third downs, bro, they just freaking generated so much pressure after like the first quarter. Like they just got after Mertz, and that strip sack was really costly for them too. And I think that's kind of what really got the momentum going for Georgia.
And I think the synopsis of all this stuff that we've just covered in the past 3 little segments that we've had, including this Georgia one, is that this week necessarily wasn't about – there wasn't big upsets. There wasn't like huge like top 10 matchups. But this week showed separation, real separation. Georgia has shown, okay, we are literally here. Bowers is gone, yet we still have a huge win on the road, right? We saw Oklahoma finally push back after beating Texas. I think we saw Ohio State show that they're just going to survive. Okay, like you can't take them out of number 3, but they're just going to survive.
Yeah.
And Penn State, I don't think even deserves to be ranked in the top 7. Maybe a top 10 team.
We'll get to the AP top 25 and who should be where and why and all that nonsense. But first, let's talk about our upset picks from last week. This is something that we kind of haven't done, but so we both were severely wrong about Utah and them getting the upset over Oregon. Like that's just something that I didn't know that Oregon, like I knew they were really good, but like I thought Utah like was going to have that fighting chance to get out
and being at home.
Yeah,
but
that just didn't happen. And Vegas was right. Actually, they were kind of wrong, but they were right, But yeah, so if you bet that Oregon over or under, I forget the proper terminology for using those things. But no, like if you picked Oregon to cover, yeah, good job. You won some money this weekend, and if you bet, yeah. So, but the other upset picks, guess what? Me and Robby both snagged one. Oregon State got upset by the Jed Fish, Noah Fafita. Dude, I didn't watch that game live because honestly I fell asleep, but like I watched it the next morning and I was like, I was genuinely impressed with like how that game was. Like that was the best football game from that weekend. Like I didn't like Kansas Oklahoma just because of the turnovers and the rain delay and all of that happened. Like I just wasn't a huge fan of that game. Like I think Dylan Gabriel still sucks, and like
you and me both, man.
Like I don't think he sucks. I just don't think he's like gonna really elevate Oklahoma to anything.
No, I just don't think he deserves to be in the conversations that he was prior to this
game.
Yeah,
like he got one big win. Congrats. You played the best game of your career. Like
anybody can get those wins. Like you have a team around you, like a defense that played the way they did. I'm sorry. And you have the starting quarterback of that team who is the heartbeat of that team, throw 3 picks. Like we saw how that happens. We saw what happens against we've seen that time and time again in college football. Like that's how you win the game. I don't think Dylan Gabriel necessarily won them that entire game.
The defense generating a lot of turnovers and holding, Texas 3 points in the red zone. Like I seriously think like if that game were to be played again, like I think you still favor Texas by like 3.5. Like Texas,
not right now.
I mean, yeah.
You think I don't know if Malik Murphy can beat this team.
He looked very
he looked like a freaking he looked like a first-year guy, and that's perfectly fine. I would not. I mean, he's getting Murphy, man. I'm not expecting to play watching Quinn Ewers play the way he's playing.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, like, dude, if I hate the conversation of Arch Manning like is gonna play because like unless Malik Murphy continues to like, not play the greatest.
You can't throw that kid. That kid, in my opinion, and we'll get
into if you watch Arch's spring game and it's like highlights from. Like you can see, like he is not polished enough yet. Like he could be a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I personally I get why he had the perfect grade on 24/7. One, because like if you don't, you're probably gonna get a bunch of complaints from a bunch of Manning homers. And two, like he has the perfect prospect build. Like I'm not saying that. I just think like guys like Nico Imalovaia and Dante Moore showed a little bit more, flash in high school. But
yeah, I think. In my opinion, if I'm in Sarkisian's shoes, you cannot throw that kid out there because of his last name. And this is why. He goes out there and fails, which I'm sorry, but if he's generational, like sure, maybe he doesn't, but I don't think anyone in that building has seen generational talent out of him.
If they really thought he was generational, he'd be QB2. And Malik Murphy would be
exactly. And so with a kid that name and that spotlight, it's like you're literally setting the kid up to fail. And now
they don't want to do that because Arch has a bright future. Like
he kind of is their future. You kind of look at this thing and be like, all right, Malik, are you actually going to play for Texas? Like, is that a realistic thing?
I don't think
is this system set up for him? I don't think so. I think this kid plays college football at a high level, but not for Texas.
Dude, he needs to go transfer to Washington next year. Like,
right? Like, it's things like that.
That's a very he's going to be a guy that needs I think he's going to be a volume passer. That's kind of how I look at Malik Murphy. Yeah. He's going to be a volume passer that's very shifty, very mobile. Like. You need to have a really creative play calling scheme, and Sarkisian does, but not for Malik Murphy. He has it for more of a pocket passing. I mean, Ewers can scramble, but like he's going to be a pocket first guy. While Malik Murphy, he's looking to extend plays a lot. Like Malik Murphy would probably be perfect next to Lincoln Riley. So,
right. And speaking of another guy who we will probably see transfer is the guy who won my upset pick, and that was Noah Fafita.
Dude,
This
I don't know. Jed Fish and that Arizona team could be like another one of those teams that like they're gonna be a good program that like and they're gonna be in the Big 12. And it's like it's not out of the complete possibility that they could win that in 2 years with Fifita as a junior redshirt, if he were to stay, of course. And look like that defense looks really good, which is something that is very surprising to see. Like for them to actually generate stops against a pretty good freaking Oregon run defense and a decent pass game. Like Childs is like one of the most electric receivers in the country, and he just will never get the spotlight because,
right.
Oregon State's not a national brand. But it was just a really good football game from both sides. I was
Right.
genuinely impressed. I walked away knowing both those teams are good football teams and should be in the top 25.
I think you see a defense start to emerge like on a team like Arizona when they have the confidence that if they get the stop, a star is going to emerge and continuously put points on the board to support them. Like Fafita coming in was such a like bright light for that team. Not saying that Delora was
No,
a
Delores
bad
still
guy,
no, he's a good quarterback, but he's
but
just not the level. Like, there's a difference between like above average and good, and I think Noah Fafita is just good. Like, he's just a higher tier than Delora. Like, no discredit to him, Delora would be
no.
successful at a lot of different programs, but
Yeah, and Fafita's made guys like McMillan look really good, and then it sets up Jonah Coleman, and all around you see a team start to emerge when the helm of your team really everyone has confidence in him. Everyone knows that guy's going to go down and score and be able to go up against anybody. Oregon State's no fluke, man. I know this hasn't been a big name in college football the past 10 years.
they're a darn good football team.
DJU's a legit quarterback, and they have a freaking phenomenal offensive line up until this point. Their defense has looked good. They have weapons on the outside. They got a great run. Like, this is an all-around really good team that deserved to be ranked at 11 at the time that they were. But this goes to credit Jed Fisher, his scheme, all that coaching staff, and the preparation that came into this game. And Noah Fafita's performance, this guy almost put up 300 yards this game, and I think he's only going to get better. Like, the kid's confidence has got to be going through the roof right now. Yeah. And he's still young. He's still got so much time to develop. And who knows, we might see him in a different uniform. And like you said, I actually kind of agree with your take. Like, with the conference shifting, Arizona does go into a bigger conference, gets to play big teams. And yeah, like, why would he leave when, now you can just build your brand up? And it's not like Arizona's a place that no recruits want to go. They got the warm weather. Their facilities are great. That school's got money. So why not? If Fafita's really this guy, man, like, I'm sure people would follow him.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if you're not playing at a school like, like in the ACC or even in another Pac-12 or Big 12 team, like Arizona might be a good place to go for you. So
absolutely. Another transfer school too.
Yeah. All right. We talked about teams that kind of impressed us. It's kind of get on the flip side, some teams that are disappointing. Teams I put on there, North Carolina, University of Southern California, not to be mistaken by South Carolina, Penn State, and Washington. So North Carolina, I mean, they kind of just go back to their old ways of, having a great offense, but a worse defense. And this kind of like them and USC kind of prove my point. Like, you're never going to be a good team if you don't like, if you look at like teams that have won the national championship over like really ever, like you win because your defense is just as good as your offense, if not better. And this, nor UNC nor USC really resembles that at all. And I think this is just a case to show like USC, like they damn near lost to a Cal team that's kind of been like a kind of dead almost. Like, they just have not, like, Fernando Mendoza should not be having his career performance against you. But hey, Jack Plummer had his career performance against this USC team too. And while he's been fine at Louisville, he hasn't been great. UNC, like, same thing. Like, you let Haynes King, which Haynes King has been better recently, and he's had his games this year where he's looked pretty good, and Georgia Tech might end up like making a bowl game.
Right, like once again, another example of a kid that's highly recruited out of high school, 5-star, goes to a team that he knows he's going to play, going to get to play big names. Boom, he shows up on a big stage, beats a ranked
like he's shown up now against Miami and North Carolina, so
that's why you play there.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see Georgia Tech, like what Brent Key's really doing with that team. Like, Georgia Tech might be like, some solid might be a solid ACC team to come for the next few years.
Yeah. UNC, USC, you touched on them, you made great points. Defenses can't perform, even though they have generational level quarterbacks. I'm not going to hate on either quarterback because, especially Caleb May, or holy
Caleb
crap.
May, that would be a crazy quarterback. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh, that's a first round. That's a first overall pick. Drake
Dude,
May,
that's
he's played well in the games that he's lost, put
oh
up
yeah.
great stats. Caleb Williams he finally came alive in Cal, but once again, it's like, why is it taking you so long to come alive against a team
Because
like
I don't know.
Cal? And it's honestly, it's because what I just pointed out in Arizona, like Arizona's defense starts to come alive because, Noah Fita's giving them the confidence that they're going to go put up points. So if they get the stops, they're doing their part and their offense is going to do their part. That's how a cohesive unit works. Dude, Caleb Williams, we just saw, man, he put up 50 points and won the game by 1. Like, that should not be a thing, and that's happening week in and week out.
Yeah,
It's
like the reason,
demoralizing.
because USC loses to teams that are better than them, like Notre Dame. Like when your defense isn't generating stops and you're getting killed, like when you're playing a legit defense as well, like it's really hard. So
Yeah, he's just taking hits. And then to touch on Penn State, do I think this team can be good? Sure. They showed that they wanted to run the football, and it actually kind of worked for them. But this team, with Drew Aller being a kid that everyone was saying was the next big thing, 5-star, he's going to have his growing pains. I do understand that. But the offensive line is not good. Really, really, really bad.
I think it's a receiver problem, to be honest.
Oh, and that's exactly the next point I was going to get into.
Like
Is
the
that
receivers do
Drew
not.
Aller can't look good
Yeah, they don't create any separation. They don't have any creativity. Like it's seriously
no.
concerning. Like the offensive line can only do so much, and yes, they have not been good whatsoever. But I think also the problem of it is that Aller also just can't find anyone with the time that he's given,
Right.
anyways.
Where they're not even letting the kid.
Like Lambert Smith's a good receiver, but like that's about it. Like there are no guys on this team, and normally they typically have a tight end that you can throw to too, and they just don't have that this year.
No. And Washington, man, not even going to touch on the defense because I think they are also a part of the problem. But in terms of offense, this team should be producing at, like, we've seen their capabilities. It's just like, what's going wrong and why is it going wrong now? This is the wrong time for them to start slowing down.
I think it's just an overlook. I think they overlooked their 2 opponents because when I watch that game, it looks like the guys on defense are just jogging and like don't give a shit. Like I'm being so honest. Like I rewatched it today and I'm just like, yeah, like Stanford, they gave it their fucking all, and Washington could care. Like they looks like they want to go home and play the new 2K.
And it's seen on tape. It's why teams like Stanford are literally going to play so hard because they know that there's a vulnerability in them, and that is their effort. And so, if you out hustle the team, you outwork the team, like you're going to have a chance. They had a chance. Yes. Now the fact that Michael Penix is Michael Penix.
Yeah. I mean, the passing game still looked really good. Like,
right. But they're one dimensional. And I look at defenses like Oregon. I look at the potential of defenses against great teams like Michigan. I look at the defenses like Georgia, and it's like, dude, really? Can you compete here? Like, I don't see it.
I mean, their defense is good, but it's not great. Like,
no, but I'm saying, can Washington's one-dimensional offense compete against these defenses who, like, Oregon's going to stop the run? We know that, but we also saw that, maybe they're not the great, like, they got exploited in some ways. Like, Odunze went for a huge game. Penix went for a huge game in general, but you put that thing on a neutral site, it's hard to beat a team twice. Now all the film is on you. They know how you're going to exploit them, and you're going to have a chance to go back and get them. That's a game where I feel like they fall into a trap of, but maybe they still make the playoff, right? How do they stack up against other teams that have just as good coverage backs? Yeah, even a defense like Ohio State, if they make it to the playoff, their corners cover super well.
Dude, they're a really good defense in general. Like,
right. Like I don't know if they have all of the tools to win this thing, to take this thing as deep as we thought they were up until basically Oregon. Or past Oregon game.
I don't know, because they're gonna have to live and die by this system at this point. It's not like you're gonna change it up and run the
right. And that's like the biggest fear, actually, because you hope that the coaching staff is still saying we are going to live and die by
this thing. They're the best I don't care what anyone says, best passing attack in the country.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to live and die by that, because even when your team's not getting hot and there's slowing down at the wrong time, like you have to trust it, because the second you start trying to flip it up, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. You can't let
it's a disaster waiting to happen if you switch up your scheme. Like,
right. And
I think
that would also just be such a discredit to Michael Penix, because
and I mean McMillan hasn't been playing the past couple weeks either too, and he is a big part of that receiving core for Washington. So
yeah, having the full complete like core line and just overall
they've had
rhythm
guys
is
banged up on
so
defense too. I just think they're really trying to recover and really trying to just get back at 100%.
It's the wrong time, man.
Yeah,
We're going into November. This is when this thing gets decided.
like
Tomorrow there's going to be the show.
Yeah, like me and Robby will react to him Wednesday because we got different plans tomorrow. But no, seriously, like this Washington team's, they're disappointing, but I still think we've seen them at their highest, and teams do struggle. Like, I mean, we don't discredit Georgia for struggling really either. At least most of the consensus of the country doesn't. So it's just, yeah, it's probably the wrong time if you want to get a high ranking to start out in the college football playoff. But I mean, they still got tough games to play, and they still got chances to show themselves.
Right,
too.
and that's the other part, is we're watching a team slow down truly. Like, it's one thing to say, hey, like, you're slowing down, but you're going to play the lower level Pac-12 teams, right? This team has one of the most daunting Novembers that I've ever seen in my time of watching college football. They are about to endure an absolute gauntlet, and I just don't know if they're ready for it. And that's the part where I'm like, slowing down at the wrong time, because even if you're trying to recover, man, these teams are ready.
But I still think they're better than all the teams that they have on their schedule.
They're better than USC.
I think they're better than Utah.
Yes, but at the same time, I feel like Utah.
I think if they were to lose to someone, the test will be Oregon State. I think Oregon State's the best team remaining that they have.
Right, and they do have that going for them. I'll give them that all these teams kind of just got disappointed, right? And then USC's kind of fallen into this.
Dude, USC's not going to – dude, if Washington doesn't score 70, I'm going to be disappointed. Like, that's kind of –
actually, this could be the highest scoring game of the year for sure. And after a game that they need to prove themselves on.
I don't know, because, like, Washington's pass coverage, like – it wasn't great against Stanford, but I think it's better than what they showed typically.
And I think just talk about the fact that too that kid, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Eric Iomaner, like he's so legit. Like
the Stanford receiver,
like that kid showed out against Colorado, and everyone's like, "Oh, who's this kid?" Elick Iomaner, like, dude, he just did it again. Like, this kid he's legit. He's something to watch. This is gonna be a transfer portal kid for sure.
Yeah, like we'll probably see him go to, like, I don't know, just trying to think of higher academic standard schools like Notre Dame or Purdue.
Right,
dude, he might be the next great Purdue receiver. They love to.
Oh, jeez, dude.
Like with Charlie Jones, David Bell, Rondale Moore. Like, here comes this kid next.
So. No. All right, let's stop that. But no. Washington is a disappointing team because of the state that their team is in right now. However, we could literally go back in 3 weeks and be like, yeah, this team's ready for the playoff, and they might win the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the sport. The other three teams, though, I don't see competing for a playoff spot. Washington's a team that we're just disappointed in right now.
Yeah. I mean, Penn State, if they were to beat Michigan and go and win the Big Ten championship, sure. But
that's not happening. These rumors have pissed off that entire room. When you're having player-only meetings, be prepared. Like, you're screwed. I'm sorry. There's something that's about to happen.
Yeah. All right, let's get into Heisman conversation, because it is a high time to be talking about this.
Yeah.
Some regular season games left the first week in December, and, who's going to be holding that Heisman Memorial Trophy? To be honest, I have no clue.
So what's the basis of this question? Are we talking if the season ended today, the ceremony's tomorrow, who's hoisting it, or are we saying
what are you projecting?
Are we projecting?
Projecting.
Okay. So
who do you think legitimately has a shot to be
we can take this two places. So we can take this in who is the winner, who's hoisting it, right? Or who is the four guys that are going to be sitting in New York City?
Who are your guys? Because it's really hard to determine a Heisman.
It's so hard. It's so hard, man, because it's a lot of projectability right now.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, like, who do you think is going to be
Is
in that
sitting there.
room
Yeah. Yeah.
for that
Okay,
award?
so I'm gonna give you my 4.
Sure,
I
guys.
think
It's the
Bone.
same as Joel's Clad. I'm going to kill you.
No, I don't. I actually don't know Jules right now, so
I know
that's actually
Marvin
probably a good
Harrison.
thing.
No, Marvin Harrison Jr. is in there. So
Absolutely. MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo Nix, Penix, McCarthy.
Okay.
So this is all off of basically that, Bo Nix goes out and finishes this thing and wins the Pac-12. That's what I'm giving. That's what I'm gonna. That's why he gets there. He doesn't get there if he doesn't win the Pac-12, in my opinion. Marvin Harrison Jr. is there because without him, Ohio State is abysmal. Kyle McCord isn't even probably the quarterback, and he's arguably the best athlete in football right now.
Yeah, him or Travis.
Michael Penix, yeah, Michael Penix is there because at the end of this thing, I think stat wise, he's going to be the top dog in terms of everything, like all very relative and the most used college or quarterback stats to decipher, is a guy good, is he elite, whatever. So yeah, he doesn't win the Big 12 or the Pac-12. Obviously, he's probably not in the playoff, but Heisman is a stat award, and we saw that it doesn't matter if you're in the playoff or not because Williams won it last year, and he won it because that guy put up unreal stats. And then McCarthy is there because he finishes November off. He gets his team to a title again, and I think letting that guy play all 4 quarters, him doing what I anticipate he does and what he's done all season and what he did against Ohio State.
Yeah,
yada, yada, yada.
I'm going to ask you a really stupid question,
Yep.
but how much is that actually him being talented and, reading, and how much is it him predetermining knowing what's already going to happen?
So yeah, you can ask that question for sure. And it's not a stupid question, actually.
I asked kind of jokingly. I'm not.
No, but it's not, and I get where you're coming from.
It's
but look at the highlight tape.
It's completely satire.
He's made like the throws this kid is making, like a day in, day out. Like you got to make the throw, right?
Yeah, no, like he's still like a great guy. Like I'm not discrediting
and he's
McCarthy at
running
all.
well and blah, blah, blah.
He's in my Heisman conversation as well.
Now, who wins that? Frick, man. To be honest with you, to be really, really honest with you, whoever wins November 25th is my opinion who takes the award. But who knows?
I think
that's all projectability.
I think honestly mine right now. So it'd be Penix, McCarthy, Jordan Travis.
Oh, good
and
one.
Then I like Bo Nix in there too, and then I'll put Marvin in there as well. I like Jordan Travis. Like if he wasn't on Florida State and they had someone else, like considerably, like yes, they've had their down moments, but he's also like he is the Florida State guy. Like I think if they had someone else in there, they would not be successful. Florida State doesn't really get talked about enough on a national level with really how good they've been playing. Like they handled business against Wake Forest, and no one cares because first of all, it's Wake Forest, and they're
like
not
they
relevant.
Struggled against Boston College, and then
one time.
What did they do? What did they do after that? They literally shut everybody up, and they literally shut everyone up because nobody's talking.
Yeah, nobody wants to talk about this team because they're actually good, but no one wants to accept that they're good because they're not in the SEC or Big Ten.
Right,
so
like the ACC is so irrelevant. It's like, oh yeah, they already won the conference, like whatever.
Like, I mean, they still got to go play Louisville in the ACC championship, but I mean, that's actually a very legit possibility. So,
dude, it actually is
because North Carolina's probably not going to be there anymore. Miami's probably not going to be there. They just thrashed Duke, which Duke wouldn't get thrashed if they had Riley Leonard. They had Riley Leonard, but he literally played his worst game of all time. And
because the kid is doing this off of the fact that if his team didn't go out there, his program would get embarrassed.
Yeah, like I mean, they still got embarrassed,
right? But at least like he's going out and showing like, hey, I have heart for this team. I care for this.
I mean, he's almost playing like to a point where it's kind of stupid in my opinion, but
right.
Like
shows the type of player he is.
Though. Yeah, no, like he cares about his team a lot more than 90% of college quarterbacks. Like if it was, let's say. Yeah, I guess every kind of team's kind of got a passion. Like if it was Caleb Williams and he was kind of hurt, like he just sit out the rest of the year. Or if it was like Spencer Rattler or like a guy like Graham Mertz or Carson Beck, to be honest. Like a lot of these guys, like I don't think they have the heart that Riley Leonard has for Duke, like just with their program. So
I agree.
But no, like Jordan Travis is one of those guys and he's been playing hurt too. Like he's had a hurt shoulder this whole entire time. and he's still going out there and playing great. And I mean, he's got arguably one of the best receivers in the country. Like, I'm so pissed that he's not at MSU, but I also completely understand because like I wouldn't want to be there. Yeah, like
think about what a waste of talent that kid could have been.
I thought Jake Reed was a waste of talent his last year. Like,
yeah, but he made it to the NFL, right?
Yeah,
and we're starting to see him.
I mean, I thought, but Keon would have got there with the size. Like,
it's true. I know everyone forgets that, man. If you're just want to know why he's dominating,
like NFL scouts literally get paid to watch kids in college. You don't think they're gonna like? Yes, they do miss a couple guys, but like generally,
he would have got there off projectability, but he would never have had the quarterback that he's got right now, throwing him the ball and just letting him show off his
talk about the quarterbacks. Like,
it all changed, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Fafita and Fisher could be the next head coach and quarterback at Michigan State.
That's actually probably a legit possibility too, which is the crazy.
That or it's Urban, because rumor has it there's rumors floating around that they finally offered him.
I don't know. He keeps. There's been flights from Sarasota to East Lansing, so we'll see.
Shall see.
If it does happen, we're gonna do an emergency episode. We're gonna hop right on here.
And, we might,
and I will not shut up.
Live stream on, like, we might find a way if we're together, like on the freaking Instagram live, like reacting, like holy frick.
No, we're literally I'm gonna have I'm just gonna bring my laptop everywhere with me, and if it's second it happens, I'm gonna be like in Robby's face.
Whoa, let's go.
He's gonna be like, fuck, our program's turning the shit
now. Here we go. The guy's back. This is why we were good, because he left. Now they're back. Little brother who?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I can't wait till that day comes. I can't wait.
I'd be scared, especially with where Michigan's at right now. If there's no contract extension for Harbaugh, RIP.
Yeah. RIP. All right. Let's get to the AP Top 25 reaction. Robby, what are your takeaways on this? Before, and then kind of also leading into a kind of a double segment, what would you say your expectations were for the college football playoff tomorrow?
I expect to be actually very disappointed.
Yeah, because
it happens every year.
Well, I like a lot of the consensus feeling, and I mean it's because the college football playoff committee goes off a resume standpoint, and if you were to strictly just look at resume, we probably know who the number one team is going to be.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's the crazy part is like the rankings don't even matter right now, because and the way the college football playoff committee does it, like we actually could see like Oregon at number 2, like Michigan probably won't even be on it. Like I fully expect them to be 4, 5, or 6, because once again you haven't been battled, you have literally played nobody. So there's things like that I could expect, but in terms of like the AP Top 25, I'm actually not mad about it. I think Ole Miss is still really high. As much as I was so high on them all season, and I'm not going to not.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed about one certain team being at one certain ranking. Like, I don't understand. Like, Louisville only has one loss, and yes, that was very embarrassing to Pitt, a team that Notre Dame just literally thumped and put them to sleep right away. But still, Louisville has that head-to-head win over Notre Dame, and I think that like even when you look at it from like a season perspective and I guess a resume perspective, like. I think Louisville's still a better team than Notre Dame. Like,
yeah, it's just you gotta remember, man. Caleb Williams is he's the god, right? To the AP, to the Associated Press.
Yeah, they're still ranked. Why? I don't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That proves my point, Noah. Yeah, put
Oklahoma State in there. Rank Liberty. Rank Miami. Rank Arizona. Rank one of these teams.
Right, like what? I get it. Arizona's 3 losses, but like, aren't we?
I mean, I know USC beat Arizona, but barely. And I think on it, Arizona has better wins than USC. Like USC's best win is who? Fucking Colorado or Arizona? Like,
right, and they almost lost both those games. Yeah, they literally should have. If Colorado knew how to control the clock in 2 minutes, like they would have won.
Like Arizona has wins against Washington State and Oregon State, and they've played close against Washington and USC. Like they're generally
they're projecting upwards. USC's projecting downwards.
Yeah, like Fafita starts the season for Arizona. Like they're in the top. They're in the top 20 right now.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that bugs me too. The Louisville ranking. I don't think Notre Dame should.
I think we're gonna see LSU surprisingly high. on tomorrow, like higher than
Oh
like
yeah.
higher
Oh
than most.
yeah, dude. And the committee's punching
Well,
themselves.
and they're just gonna fucking make the Alabama LSU game as hyped as possible for ratings, even though it's on CBS. So maybe not. Maybe they'll discredit them a little bit because it's not an ESPN game. But
yeah, and not even to talk about too much, but next week's slate is ridiculous.
oh yeah,
Ridiculous. So
like
I think LSU is definitely going to be up there, like you said, and I think the committee and all college football fans are kind of ticked that LSU had to play Florida State week 1 because if they don't have 2 losses right now, they're
I think they could
almost
still, if they were to win out though, like genuinely, I think they'd still get in.
the playoff. Who did they get in? But okay, so does that
Because
we just not have an ACC representative?
Probably not. If Florida State loses a game, I think you'd take a 11-2 LSU over a 11-1. Or
So okay, then this I'm gonna combine segments.
I'm not
here.
saying I agree with it.
No. I'm not at all. I know you're speaking logically. It's just like because the committee does crazy things, and I'll never agree with it. But here, let's toss this question out here. So let's say they win out, right? They beat Alabama, they win the SEC, and now they're into the playoff. They beat Georgia. Holy crap, man! That would be a run.
Yeah.
Is Jaden Daniels now sitting in there in New York?
Oh yeah, I think he would definitely. Like, I mean, I don't think Florida State's going to drop a game the rest of the season. You play Pitt, Miami, not Northern Alabama, and Florida. Like, I think your schedule is relatively easy until the ACC championship.
Which is why I'm saying, like, I honestly want to see LSU in there.
Will they? Probably not, because they can't cover freaking, a scarecrow out there in the freaking dead center of the field. But I mean, if they beat Alabama, the rest of their schedule is Florida, which I mean, you still got to go beat them. Georgia State, who's relatively good Sun Belt team, and then Texas A&M, which I mean, that game's always crazy for whatever reason every year. So
it'd be a run, man. But
yeah, I think. And if they were to beat Georgia, like you almost can't that's Georgia's only loss. Like one, Georgia's going to look like complete frauds, and two, like I mean, you kind of would have to put them in there at that point.
This is the beauty of the sport, man. The possibility is
plus, I mean,
there.
Ohio State or Michigan's going to have a loss too, and Penn State might do the unthinkable. I doubt it, but
Jeez. They do the unthinkable. I'm never coming back on the show. Because then screw that. I'm not taking that heat. We lose this weekend. Not that that's even a realm of possibility, but if this whole sign scandaling thing turns out to be more than true, not only true, but
you're not going to lose to Purdue, dude. I'm
not worried, man. I'm just saying I hate the look of all this.
Purdue's lost 3 games in a row.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they just got thumped by Nebraska.
But
Nebraska's actually been playing relatively good. Like, shout out to Matt Rule and that.
I was just about to say that, dude. Shout out, Matt. You walked into a dumpster situation. You're 5-3 right now.
Yeah, I mean, and they were very, very, very suspect to start the year, but now they're kind of running like an option and not trying to force the ball through the air, and they're playing defense.
That's an NFL coach, though. The ability to adapt, the ability to see what you got,
and that rule, this Nebraska program is going to be pretty solid. Like, if he can get the guys that he wants, and I think Matt Rule is going to be someone that he looks like a transfer portal guy. When you look at him coach and you look how he carries himself, like he is a transfer portal.
All he needs now is a big win. Beat somebody. Beat somebody in your home place, and Nebraska kids are coming.
I don't think Nebraska. I mean, they don't have a big game left on their schedule. They go to at MSU, which they'll probably kill them by 50 because MSU is just they just kind of. Well, they're just not a good football team.
Yeah. No.
They'll probably beat Maryland because Talia's been playing like crap lately. And I saw an interesting stat where I think it was Maryland is really good. I don't have the exact numbers on this, but I was listening to something earlier and heard this. Maryland is really good in the month of September, and then they absolutely in the last 3 years they have in 2021 they had 1 win, or it was 2021 they had 1 win, 2022 they had 3 wins, but they had a losing record in their combined October and November records. So
it's really interesting.
Yeah,
it's actually really, really.
I think if Nebraska could be Wisconsin, that'd be a huge win for them.
Yeah, and I'm saying in terms of big win, like doesn't have to come this year. This is a team that is going to
Right.
slowly
But
develop over the next 3 years and be contenders. So like beat one of the big new Big Ten teams. Like it's gonna come, and when it does, Matt Rule will get the guys that he needs to actually put this thing together because man, it's gotta be hard recruiting high school kids to the state of Nebraska.
hell,
I'm sorry.
rank Nebraska over fucking this shitty ass team.
USC, man.
Yeah, I hate that team so much.
It's
I don't like
rank Toledo. How about that?
Putting a Mac school up there. I mean, maybe, but like
I'm pretty sure they're receiving votes.
Yeah, they have 3 receiving votes. I would rather rank Liberty at that point, though, to be honest. Yeah. But I think Oklahoma State should be in over USC, like legitimately. Like Ollie Gordon and Bowman, that whole team, what Gundy's doing, man, like that's a really good program. And I think you're gonna see a crazy pick on Thursday for me, at least one. Yeah. I think
to hear it.
You can
anticipate. Prophetic man has spoken.
Yeah. No, but I mean, other than that, like I'm kind of happy. Like I'm curious to see where teams like Air Force and like James Madison end up, but we'll see.
James Madison is
I don't know how UCLA goes up so much after kind of struggling with Colorado, and kind of leads me into another point where I don't know if Dante Moore is playing for this UCLA team next year. Oregon's gonna lose Bo Nix, and he was projected to go there one time. So
Dante Moore is not staying. I think they've actually disrespected this kid so much to the point where he's just Dante Moore's got a ridiculous amount of talent. I would love to see him come back.
I think they kind of threw him into a shitty situation, though, to be honest.
I understand why he left Oregon because out of high school, if you followed this kid at all, he's always said, I just want to play. I just want to play. I just want to play. I just want to play.
Yeah, and he was
Underwood's the same way. The kid that's now the number one recruit in the 25 class.
Yeah.
These kids just want to play out of high school. They don't want to sit and develop, which, I mean, yes, they probably need a little bit of development, but these kids are uber duper talented. Like they are
but they're
good
5-star talented kids. Like, and if you watch them play in high school, you know that they're going to transition relatively easily into the next level.
They got the size, the arm.
I thought Nico should have went somewhere where he should have played right away too. Like, I think Jackson Arnold's a kid that could play right away. Like, that's how. Like, I don't think
they will benefit from sitting out. It's just like I get it.
I don't think anyone in this 2024 class, though, and I mean, we'll get into like more like our recruiting in depth and our recruiting analysis. Once this is like, oh, we're watching the Idaho Potato Bowl. Yeah, I think the 2024 class to look at would be way more interesting to talk about than
absolutely
freaking like Wyoming playing like San Diego State or something like that.
Right.
So, but no, yeah, but I mean, I like my assessment of this 2024 class is I don't know. I don't think there's going to be anyone that's going to be able to play,
In terms of quarterback position, I'm going to 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Besides Raiola.
I don't even know if he's going to – I mean, maybe, but –
He won't get to play.
I think there's a drop-off from Raiola and then kind of the rest of the pack, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I think there's other – I have other opinions about Dylan Raiola that'll be reason why. I think talent is there. Not to get into this at all, but, like, talent's there. It's right here. It's ego. It's going to be the death of him.
Yeah. All right. Even though we kind of talked about Nebraska, what are some other teams that I kind of briefed on Oklahoma State too? Who is not getting enough recognition right now that like should be?
Besides, when I saw this, I was like, my mind instantly went to Oklahoma State because they really aren't. I mean, and then I even wanted to talk about Florida a little bit because I've been hearing it everywhere and I kind of forgot about them too, but they haven't been doing anything. So it's like, I don't know. Besides those 3 schools, I'll say, I don't know. That's going to take me a second, actually.
I think SMU is one of the teams that doesn't get talked.
Southern Methodist?
SMU.
Yeah, so Southern.
The Mustangs.
Yeah, that's Southern Methodist.
Oh, yeah. I thought you said Southern Miss. I was like,
no. Southern Methodist. Yeah. My bad.
Like their defense is like extremely playing like at an absurd level. And like they genuinely like I think I heard they have like 175 odds to win the American right now. And like if you're a person that does like to place bets, like if you look at their last 4 games, 34-16 against Charlotte, 31-10 against ECU, 55-0 against Temple, and then 69-10 against Tulsa. They play Rice, UNT, Memphis, which Memphis is probably the only game that they'll maybe like get a little bit of run for their money. North Texas's quarterback's been playing like relatively well though ever since they made a switch there, so maybe something happens there. And then Navy, like they're gonna play Tulane in that American championship, and like they're a good team. Like they lost to 2 Big 12 teams during the season, but I mean they kind of hung on there with Oklahoma, and then I mean they lost to TCU, but still, like this is Stone and that SMU team is just really good, man. Like I'm genuinely impressed. I think Virginia Tech's been playing really well too, especially in conference. Like they're kind of a team that's, we thought that they would be on quit watch, but they're actually playing well. Iowa State's another really good team too. Like they're going to be a good bowl team.
Yeah, I got one for you. Rutgers.
Okay, yeah, I mean, very
Rutgers
good team.
is starting to get hot. They're they're bowl eligible right now. It's an interesting game with Ohio State.
You know what? They're probably going to crazy hot take. Penn State's going to kind of be defeated, and they're going to walk into an upset there.
Ohio State, the matchup with them and against Ohio State.
Dude, another team. Shout out to the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, 7-2 in their first year in the FBS. Like, they're legitimate,
man. I love following those teams, dude.
Yeah, like they've genuinely played well this season.
Right. These new FBS schools, it's a tough transition.
And look at Sam Houston State's another one. Man, they look like shit. Like they've had their close games, but
it's tough. It shows that, it's hard to transition from FCS to the FBS, and when you do, man, like the teams that are actually showing up big, like James Madison, like Jacksonville State, remind me, there's another one that's been playing really well.
Georgia Southern.
They're a brand new FBS school.
They're not brand new, but I mean they're relatively new.
Liberty's Liberty's
a relatively new school.
Schools like that, it's super cool to watch, and it's so stupid. I will say this again, and I'll probably say it another time on another show. The fact that James Madison cannot play in a bowl game and be proud, have their school be something to be proud of. Because think about a school like that, their student body, man, having a good football program, going to a big game, like the ratings would be through the roof. That's a loyal fan base down there. They'd probably travel really well. Like the fact that you're just not letting them play, like, stupid.
Yeah, it is really dumb. Troy's been another team that's like, they're so good defensively, and they'll probably play James Madison for the Sun Belt. So,
yeah, a lot of teams that are shooting up.
Auburn's been pretty solid this year too, man. Like, I mean, they're 4-4, so it's like not necessarily the general expectations you want, but I mean, they got a good win against Southern Miss, and they've played close against Georgia and Ole Miss now. So,
yeah,
and they got a relatively easy schedule other than Alabama. I mean, you got Vanderbilt. Should be a win. Arkansas should be a win. I think we don't see Sam Pittman. New Mexico State, if you don't throttle them, then you probably have bigger questions to answer. Yeah. And then Alabama. So, and their defense is good enough to make it hell for them. So,
and I'll point out one team that I think is going to start getting talked about a lot more now, but wasn't up until this weekend, and that's Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a great. Absolutely.
We didn't really touch on this game, but I would be glad to get into it. I think Locke is genuinely a good quarterback. Like, I think he's better than what Mordecai has shown all season. Like, if you're Wisconsin, Mordecai is healthy to come back. Like, I want to rock with him. I'd stick with Locke. Like, he's has some zip on it. And I mean, Wisconsin's just like, I mean, Braylon Allen gets banged up in that game. You lost Missouli for the year. You lose your run support basically. And
those teams are receiver away, in my opinion, offensively to be a real threat in the Big Ten. Now, defensively, fantastic.
Yeah. Harrison still had a good game, but McCollin.
But you're not going to. Yeah. At this point, you just have to accept as a team, it's not how do I stop this kid? It's how do I just run with him? Like, in terms of offensively, how does my team go toe-to-toe with a guy like this?
Yeah, and I mean, that's just kind of what it's going to be. I mean, I think, like, legitimately, I don't even think Kool-Aid McKinstry could like lock him up. I don't think that like a guy like Benjamin Morrison, who I'm very high on, the Notre Dame
Right.
corner, would be able to do too much. Like the kid's just a freak. Like there's
Dude,
no other way. There's no
he's
other way.
he's one of the
Like
best receivers to ever come through
it
college
would. I don't
football.
know if it'd be crazy to say that he might be better than his dad when it's all said and done.
Oh, the way the NFL is playing, dude. Oh my gosh.
Like
If he lands in any sort of situation that they're projecting him to, with like the fact that possibly the Bears could have the 1 and 2 and it can be him and Caleb Williams, forget it, dude.
nah, it's gonna be.
Forget it.
Nah, they're gonna. I'd love to see him with Stroud again in Houston. Like that would be
Yeah.
something. I don't know
If
how
that happens,
him, Tank
he could end up
Dell.
in freaking Carolina, dude, and have Bryce Young. Like, there's just the opportunity that this kid has to end up with a good quarterback. This is the draft for it. And I'll say this too, just to put into perspective for people, if they really don't like think that this kid is, such an unbelievable football player. Like, in my opinion, and I'm starting to read it more and more, this kid might be the first pick. Like, he might be the highest receiver ever taken in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. It just
With the downfall of Caleb Williams, with the lack of, not production, but lack of big time play by Drake May.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Draft season gets really weird. Like, for whatever reason, people kind of like, they're like when you listen to draft experts talk or you look at mock drafts, like it kind of goes on the trajectory of how the college football season's going. And then all of a sudden, when college football is over after the national title game, they kind of just don't give a shit and go back to like whatever they thought to begin with. So I mean, we'll see. I think you still got to take I think Caleb Williams, like it's kind of been a rumor floating around, but I think it's kind of he's kind of tanking his stock a little bit, or at least trying to. Like I just don't think he knows he's just not gonna end up.
And this is like that one kid where it's like everyone always says like, oh, this guy's doing this for this reason. It never turns out to actually be true. For some reason, I just weirdly see like he's just a different guy, man. Like
he hasn't looked like the Caleb Williams we've seen throughout his entire career.
So it's like maybe. And the fact that he's coming out saying he wants stake in his team, like it all is starting to make sense. Like the dip in play as, his team starts falling apart and, they're not going to make the playoff. He's like kind of playing a little conservative. And now to set up maybe one of the craziest NFL careers of all time. Who knows?
Draft season, signing day season, transfer portal season. Like if football doesn't die, man, it just gets better and better. Like
especially in this world, it does. In the college football realm, it does.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're not going to be people that like talk about what's happening in the divisional round because we just personally don't give a shit about the NFL. Like,
no.
I actually didn't watch. Like, I know you're going to the Lions game. I'm going to be watching, but like other than that, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'll go to Lions games, man, and have a blast. They're a fun team to cover. But I'm with you, man. Like, apparently Joe Burrow beat the 49ers, and the 49ers have been one of the better teams. Like, I'll scroll a little bit. I have not watched a single team play on my TV in the NFL other than the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, the one game I have watched is the Vikings 49ers game that happened, I believe, on last Monday night.
I heard that was a good game.
Yeah, but like I'll have it on. Like if I see it on, if I'm like at a Buffalo Wild Wings or I'm at someone's house and
you're paying attention, but it's not
like I mean, me and Robby definitely both get like stuff on our social media feeds from the NFL because it is a very widely covered sport. I just think that personally, and me and Robby have had debates with people about this, and I personally have had my own debates about this, and like college football is just a better brand in my opinion. Like the NFL
it's the brand, man. It honestly attracts there's loyal and there's diehard NFL fans. I do know that's out there. But it's this sport that brings the hype to the NFL seasons.
Yeah, like I mean, college football literally like I think it's for more diehards. Like if you listen to a casual person talk about football, they're going to talk about the NFL. If you listen to someone that actually follows and covers football on like a day-to-day basis, like yeah, they know some stuff about the NFL, but generally they follow college football.
Yeah, dude. it's honestly more complex too, in my opinion, because
Yeah, I
like
mean, there's more teams to follow. There's a lot
right,
more there's a lot more awards. It's a bigger landscape of conferences. Like
it's more
it's a lot.
diverse in terms of
Yeah,
like, not the big dogs always win. It's just, and the fact that it's expanding and all this other stuff is happening, like I just think that overall, even though the NCAA have a lot of things to complain about, the way it's covered, and first of all, the NFL has nothing like college game day, big noon kickoff, like
no, and
none
I
of
mean,
that,
like
dude.
all the games are like the NFL. You got to buy NFL Sunday Ticket or Red Zone to watch every single team. Like college football, like
YouTube TV literally has everything, man, and it's like that's a cheaper subscription, and it's like because so many more people are watching.
yeah,
Like,
like yes, the Super Bowl is always going to be one of the biggest events,
sure,
but still, like
sure. This year's
how
national championship, though, I'll predict. I'll say this. I think this year's national championship gets more viewers than the Super Bowl.
well, the problem is that not a lot of casuals watch a lot you know so when it comes to the Super Bowl, like everyone just especially adults, just like on my knowledge knowing this, like they only go because they want to get drunk and they don't actually care about the game. Like that's the reason why it's
Right,
on. But
right.
like
Like the
people that
Natty
actually
holds more, man. Like it just holds more meaning, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Super Bowl's cool. Like I mean, I'm gonna
And
probably watch.
you're talking to a kid who grew up a fan of Tom, the biggest fan of Tom Brady ever. Like
Yeah.
my grandfather got me into like Tom Brady and just the Patriots and all this. So I got to watch the NFL at its absolute peak. With those guys leaving, man, I'm sorry, but that brand fell off. And it started happening right as college football really started to pick up.
Yeah, because I mean, you watch college football 10 years ago. I mean, the BCS system would honestly probably be better now than the college
Oh
football
yeah.
playoff system. But for most part, because I mean, the top two teams like generally already playing the national championship. But it's cool because I mean, it adds a different element to it, and there's the cases of the TCUs and shit. So
Right. And just I don't know, man. The superstars that have come out, like the guys like Johnny Football, man, like they can't succeed in the NFL because the NFL has this just strict regimen of just how it's gonna be, and like you're gonna like those guys
I
never get
like
to see it.
I like the opportunity that college football provides for a lot of
Exactly.
people,
It
and
presents
especially
a
with
great
that
opportunity.
with NIL and everyone being able to have a little bit more of their own brand and do more things. Like it only makes the sport better, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
like I think like I think we're gonna see even like high school athletes, like big time high school athletes.
No, that's a thing. That is
Yeah.
a thing.
Like,
So
I'm
like
saying we're
now
just gonna
it's
see it keep growing more and more. And
right.
I think it's a positive thing. Like, why not like any old head that's like, no, the kids should be doing this. They're gonna learn how to do it the right way. Like, just because you grew up in a different generation, dude, and you're a
Right.
freaking boomer,
And the last thing
doesn't
I point out is like in terms of high school and college football, like those kids play for the love of the game. In the NFL, they're playing for money. Now, yes, the money is getting brought in, but like you
but they
still
wouldn't get
can't
that
take
money. Yeah, they still wouldn't get that money if they weren't like putting their heart and soul into
right,
it. Like
right, right.
that's just a
But you can
benefit that
never take away the pride of a school, playing for the pride of the school, playing for alongside like
I mean, like we
teammates
see it
and
now, like where guys are gonna fold because of the money, and like we're like that's gonna be generally like it happens in the NFL. It's gonna happen in college. Like if you're not that good, but you shine bright in like one situation, like yeah, you're gonna get paid, but like you're not gonna get paid over a considerable amount of time. I'll tell you that. So
no, but that's the opportunity it presents, and it's why
yeah,
it's the best product in sports.
yeah, no, for sure. Like that March Madness,
Once again, though, college sports. I'm telling you.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like if the NBA didn't have so much injuries, like I think it'd generally be a
It
bit.
genuinely could be a pretty good product too.
Yeah, I think MLB is still a genuinely good product. Like I'm
The
genuinely
viewership actually on the World Series kind of disappointed me because the problem with the casual baseball fan is they don't see the big market teams and they're like, I don't want to watch. Even though as a real baseball fan, and if any of you didn't know, I played college baseball, so I'm a baseball fan diehard. Like I
yeah. I
look at
see
the
the
game in
Marlins
such a
hat
different
right
way.
behind you. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah, or wherever that is. Yep, right over here.
yeah.
Yeah, I watch games like that, watch two teams go at it like that, and it's like freaking baseball. It's gold, man. Like I love watching great baseball, and that's what's getting put on in the World Series right now. So if you have not tuned into that,
Yeah, and I mean
check
it's
that out because
yeah.
it's exciting, man. Go rewatch Game 1 highlights. It's baseball at its best.
Baseball, I mean, I enjoyed watching College World Series too. So
Oh, dude, don't even get me started about that.
yeah.
That is just that's
Maybe
another brand of product
yeah.
that is just it's at a level that it does not get enough respect, and
Well,
that's
like,
because college baseball isn't.
Oh, Robbie cut
Casual
out.
fans don't
Oh,
watch
there
it,
we
and
go.
it's at a bad time too. Like the College World Series is played.
Robbie is having some technical difficulties over here. He's frozen on me, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with him, but okay, he's back now. Okay.
Jeez, man, internet is
Yeah.
crazy. All right, maybe it's saying that it's time to go.
Yeah.
You people ramble too much.
If you're just listening to the podcast for the first time, please subscribe or follow us if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Make sure to check out the socials. Check out me and Robbie's personal socials. I'll actually put them in the link in the description to our socials on Instagram and Twitter. I actually just posted a new photo of me doing some sideline coverage for local radio stations. So make sure to go like those like that post. If you have anything, got a question for us, we have Instagram, we have Twitter, our DMs are open. Feel free to message us or just leave a comment. Don't be scared to ask questions, what our opinions are on certain things. If you want to join the show, like I said, hit us up. Depends on who you are, but
we are definitely open to hearing other opinions for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's
we
just
love
what
to hear. We love to debate. That's what we're here for, man.
Yeah. Like, follow, subscribe. Got nothing else to say. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, wherever you are.